Hey guys, welcome to Ben Wrenchin. My name's Ben, and today I'm wrenching on my 2005 Honda Odyssey. This is my first project on this van. I just got it. It's got a whole list of problems, and I'm going to go ahead and tackle the first and probably the most important. This one's throwing an engine code, so I'll show you that, but I'm going to be replacing the VVT solenoid as well as doing an oil change. I've got to drain the oil to take that out, so I'm going to do both at the same time. I'm not going to do a full oil change video because I will save that for a separate video to go a little bit more in depth, but I'm going to show you the diagnostic code and then we'll get it switched out. So with the key on, engine off, I've got my scanner plugged into the OBD port right here. This is just a cheapo OBD2 scanner. I'll link this in the description. I like this one because it's super simple. It's got a DTC button to scan for codes. So I'll press that. And the code that it's got is P2647. This says it's a rocker arm actuator system stuck on bank 1. I'm not sure what that means, but everything online told me that that code indicates that the VVT solenoid needs changed out. It also said that it's possible that that could come from dirty or low oil. So the first thing I did was check the oil level. It's good. The oil doesn't look super dirty. And I've changed one of these VVT solenoids before on my 04 Accord. So I'm going to start by draining the oil. I'm going to lift the front of the van up, get the oil drained. After that, I'm going to change out the VVT solenoid. I'll fill the oil and clear the code. And then hopefully this van will be back on the road. It's still got a host of other problems. But this particular problem is causing a VSA light to come on, which is putting it into limp mode. And that's how I had to drive it home. So I want to take care of that first. That way I can at least drive the van, figure out what else is wrong with it, and fix all that stuff later. So I'm going to let it get up to operating temperature. I like to drain my oil while it's hot. While it's warming up, I can get it jacked up, and then we'll get the oil drained out. All right, so I've got it on jack stands with my jack as a support. I've got wheel chocks on the back. I've got the parking brake engaged, and the oil is hot, so I'm going to go ahead and shut it off. And the first thing I'll do is remove the oil fill cap, which is right here. This is going to allow the oil to drain quicker. And next I'll get underneath and drain the oil. Underneath the van at the front on the passenger side, this is the oil pan. Right here it says engine oil with an arrow, so this is the oil drain plug. So I'll just loosen that up and spin it off, and it is extra tight. There we go. So I'll just spin that off real quick. I like to use this magnetic drain plug remover. You can just stick the magnet on the drain plug and then twist it off without getting oil all over your hands. So make sure your pan's in a good spot. And that's why it's a good idea to use cardboard underneath your drain pan. So that oil does look pretty dirty, so it's possible that the code's coming from that. I don't mind changing out the VVT solenoid, so I'm just going to do it anyway. But if you've got dirty oil like this, you could try to just change the oil and see if your code doesn't come back after that. So I'm going to let that finish draining, and then I'll get the oil filter off. The oil filter is over here right by the passenger front wheel. And surprisingly, I can get this off by hand without even using an oil filter wrench. I'm surprised because the drain bolt was so tight. So I'll just spin this off slowly until it starts draining and I can see where it's going to. And of course, it's going right onto this part here. I don't know why they designed them like this, but here we are. This would be a good time to use a red Solo cup. You can put it on the filter and then turn it, and then you don't have this whole mess going on. You got to do it pretty quick before the cup fills up, so it may not help too much. But I'm just going to let this drain down both sides of this suspension rail here. And since this is already its own mess, I'm going to go ahead and take it off the rest of the way. And there we go, the oil filter's off, so I'm going to replace it with the new one. I use a little bit of the oil to lubricate the O-ring on the new filter. And spin this back on and get it hand tight. And that feels pretty good. I'll use some old oily rags to clean this area up. Try to clean up as much of this oil on this rail as I can. And I think that's about as good as it's gonna get. So I'll go ahead and reinstall the drain bolt, and then I can take off the VVT solenoid. And there was not a crush washer on this drain bolt, so I'm gonna go ahead and put a new one on. I'll spin this back in, and then I'll get it torqued down to 29 foot-pounds. There we go. All right, and with the oil drained, I can go ahead and remove the VVT solenoid. First thing I'm going to do is take off this cover. Normally it's got two plastic screws right here at the front that you turn 90 degrees, and then that allows you to lift up on this cover. Mine is missing those screws, so it comes off pretty easy. And there's a piece of the cover, so I'll need to get a new one of those. But with that cover off, I can get a good look at the VVT solenoid right there. So it's got two electrical connectors on it. One's right here, and the other one's back here. There are 2 of the 10mm bolts on the back of the solenoid. There's another one on the front down here. And normally you'll see people take off the air box, but I don't think I'm going to do that. I really just need to take off this hose here. It's got a couple of hose clamps on it. And once I get those off, I can take this whole thing out. And then I'll just need to take off this vacuum muffler. That'll give me access to the VVT solenoid, and I think I can take it off that way. So I'm going to try that. I'll start with this line here, get that out, and then we'll get the solenoid out. So I'll start by removing these 3 electrical connectors. This one is not attached to the solenoid, but I'm going to move it out of the way, and then I can get to these other 2. The tabs on both of these are broken off, so they should just pull right out. But normally on the back side of this, there is a tab that you can push down and pull that out. Mine's broken off. And the same with this one. This one's broke, so I can just pull back on it and get that one off. Those are the 2 electrical connectors to the solenoid, so all we have left is the 3 10mm bolts. To get to those bolts, I'm going to start by taking off some of these vacuum lines. So I can loosen this clamp and then just pull this tube out of the air intake. And then with that loose, there's another clamp right below it that I can take off. And I can use a wrench to slide that down. And I can use my wrench to loosen up that vacuum tube to get it off. I'm not going to grab it real tight, but I'm just going to twist it side to side to loosen it up. And then I can pull on it from underneath and push it right off. On the other side of that hose, I've got a clamp right here and then one right here. This one already has the clamp from the other side of it loosened off of it, so I'm going to leave that there and just pull this off. So once I get this clamp off, everything is loose and I can pull the whole thing off. Use a little bit of pressure with my wrench to grab that hose and twist it, and then I can slide this hose off. And now that everything's loose, I can pull this off of here. And there we go. There's the whole thing. And now I've got a lot easier access to this vacuum muffler box. I'll just open up this clamp and pull this hose off of here. So I got this vacuum line off of this right here, and then there's one more right here on this side. I'll slide that one back, and then I'll pull that hose off too. Now I just need to get this off. It's got a tab on the bottom. I'll use a 90-degree pick to get underneath it because I need to push that tab down. I got an angled pick in there and pried down on it, and then this slides off. So this was in there just like that. On the other side, there's a tab right here. You just need to get under this and pull down on it to release it. That was locked onto this bracket right here. That bracket's got 2 10mm nuts at the bottom of it. So if you have trouble getting that off, you could always take those off too and just take the whole bracket off. But now I can see all 3 bolts to the solenoid, so I can go ahead and take those out. I've got a 10mm socket with a small extension. So I'll break those loose. This one on the front's pretty difficult to get in the camera. I guess that's why a lot of people took the airbox off. But you don't need to take the airbox off to get to it. Really just need to take it off to see it. And now I can take them out the rest of the way by hand. I just want to make sure that I don't drop them. And these are pretty long bolts. There's the front one. There's the top one. And there's the bottom one. So now I'm ready to pull this solenoid off, but I did stuff a towel down there in case there's any oil left in the solenoid. And I'm going to do the best I can to pull it straight out so I don't damage that mating surface. And there is the solenoid. So despite having a towel in there, I still made a little bit of a mess. I'm going to clean up this mating surface for the solenoid with a microfiber towel. I'll spray some brake cleaner on my towel and clean it up one more time with that. I just want to make sure the surface is clean and dry, so I'll dry it off one last time. And that looks pretty good, so I think we're ready to put the new solenoid in. Here is the old solenoid next to the new one. What happens is this gasket goes bad and then you get an oil leak. It also fails at the gasket in between these 2 parts. So if you've got oil all over the outside of it, that's what failed. You can pull this out and replace this gasket here. They sell this separately. I'll link that in the description too. For me, with the code that I'm getting, I think that it indicates that the whole solenoid's bad. That's why I'm just replacing the whole thing. But if you just have an oil leak, you could replace this gasket and hope that it's not coming from this internal gasket here. But these are cheap enough. I would almost just recommend replacing the whole thing no matter what. And I like that the new one comes with a new sensor. It is positioned a little differently, but this one has a green paint marker, which means someone marked this as it has either been torqued down or quality inspected. So I'm going to leave it as is. The gasket's already installed and it sits flush in this little groove that it's got for the gasket. So everything there looks good. I'm going to go ahead and install this. There are these little raised parts where the bolts go through. That's why you want to make sure when you pull it off, you pull it out straight. And same thing when it's going back in. That way these don't damage the mating surface. So those also help with reinstallation because those sit back inside the mating surface. So once you get a bolt started, you don't have to hold on to it. I got the top bolt on the back started. So next I'll get the front bolt started, which is a little bit difficult to see. And last, I'll get the bottom bolt on the back side started. Those all went right into place. I didn't have any alignment issues. I can look down from the top and see that it's sitting flush. So everything looks good there. I'm gonna go ahead and snug all these down a little bit, and then they all get torqued to about 105 inch-pounds. All right, and those are torqued down. I can reconnect my electrical connectors. And once those are back on, I can get all the vacuum lines hooked back up. I'll start by getting this vacuum box back on this bracket. It's got a slot that the bracket goes into. Make sure my vacuum line's out of the way. I'll get this vacuum line back on the front. I try to line these clips up back to the indentation that's on the vacuum hose. Sometimes it can be difficult to do, but you want to at least get it close. And then I'll get this one on the driver's side and get this clamp back in place. Next, I've got this big vacuum line. So I'll get this line attached first, push it all the way down in there, and then I'm going to leave the clip off while I get the rest of this since I can twist it. I'll go ahead and put all the hoses in, and then I'll put the hose clamps back on. That way I can twist them if I need to. I'll get this one back into the intake right here. Get this clamp back where it goes and lock that one down. And then last is this one under here. I'll get that one on here and just push up on it until it locks into place. And now I can get all the hose clamps set. I'll get this one first since I can basically do it by hand. Just need to get this one a little bit higher. There we go. Slide this one back into place. All right, and the last one is this one back here. I'll try to turn it and get it lined up with the marking that's on the hose. That's pretty good. All right, and with that, we've got everything hooked back up. I'm gonna put the cover back on, fill it with oil, and then I'll show you how I clear the code. All right, so I can use my OBD2 scanner to clear the codes. I'll just go down to erase codes. And that's one way to do it. You can also disconnect the negative terminal on your battery for about 10 minutes. That'll usually clear the codes if you don't have a scanner. Most cheap OBD2 scanners and even some of the Bluetooth ones, you can clear the codes with those. But now we drive it for a while and see if it goes back into limp mode. All right, so I drove it around for about 10 minutes. The light did not come back on, so that's good news. I'm just gonna check for oil leaks around the solenoid and then top off my oil, and I'm gonna call this one good. So that's it for this one, guys. Subscribe if you want to see more of the work that I'm gonna do on this van. I'm gonna be doing brakes, I'm gonna be doing the sliding doors, I'm gonna do a power steering pump. But next I wanna figure out what the knocking noise is on my back driver wheel. A lot more to come on this van, but I am really excited about it. Thanks again for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next video.